What is going on, reefers? Welcome back to another video. As you guys might be able to tell with the scenery behind me, we are finally moved into the new home, which is awesome. We're settling in, slowly unpacking things, but we've been in for about 5 or 6 days and we're slowly starting to adjust to the new house. So that being said, the new tank is set up in the room. Now I want to start off with an apology because I did my best to try and film as much as possible during the whole moving process and setting up this new tank and getting all the parts and everything prepped up for the transfer of all the livestock from the 30-gallon Innovative Marine into the new tank. But I didn't do that great of a job at capturing everything on camera. So I do apologize. I know a lot of you guys are looking forward to the moving process of moving livestock from one tank to the other, and I didn't get to capture that on camera. Reason for that is because I wanted to focus on the health and I wanted to focus on making sure that everything stayed alive during the moving process, and that was my main goal and main priority. But of course, that leaves you guys kind of in the dark for seeing the process and what I did to get everything from one tank to another and making sure that it was still alive. So I am gonna talk about that at the end of the video. So if you guys are interested in the process on how to move livestock from one tank to another and across town, then stay till the end of the video. But we're gonna give you guys a full in-depth tour of the new tank and the new setup. I'm gonna show you guys all the bells and whistles, so let's go ahead and get into it right now. Now, if you guys hear some stuff in the background, that is work being done outside in other parts of the house, so just try to ignore the drilling noises that are going on outside the door. But as you guys can see, this is the 65-gallon tank we have set up. I'm gonna give you guys kind of a timeline story on getting this thing set up. As you guys can see, the floors in the house are not done yet. We ripped up all the carpet, but floors are coming today and they should be installed by this weekend. So just a quick rundown for the people that are new. We've got the dimensions here of 24 depth. We've got 32 on the length, and we've got 20 inches tall, and that comes out to roughly 65 gallons. Of course, not counting the overflow tower. The brand name or what kind of tank this is, we're still unsure. We're trying to figure it out. Might be JBJ, but we're not too sure on the brand. The tank came with the stand, of course. We've got some new doors here, which are simply propped up with some magnets. As you guys can hear, super easy to access the sump area down there. But back to the timeline, we had this tank in the garage for a couple of days. I was figuring out all the plumbing stuff for the overflow and the bulkheads. I did have a couple leaks, which was the last video that you guys saw, but we got all the plumbing figured out. Everything is leak proof and watertight. So we got all that squared away a couple days ago. And then we put the tank into the room on the stand, of course. I cleaned out the sand and I got an RO system to start pumping in water from outside. So I had to go through the window, through the screen, into the tank. And then we filled it up, took about 3.5 to 4 hours to fill up everything. And then we added salt, got the temperature stable, and then we added all the livestock. But at the end of the video, I'm gonna tell you guys about the moving process because a little bit about what I said is sprinkled somewhere in that story. So let's go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty details of this setup. Of course, we've got the return nozzles that are new. Bought these from my local fish store. Had to replace one of them, so I figured why not get 2 brand new ones. But if you look in the overflow tower, we've got our main drain on the left, and then we've got our backup drain on the right. The water level, I'm still figuring out somewhat because I do want it a little bit higher, but it's about 2 inches from the rim. It looks good and it keeps the fish inside of the aquarium for now. So I think I'm gonna just hang on to the water level for now and see what I can adjust later. On the back, we do have our computer fans. We've got 3 of them hooked up here, and I'll get into the whole lighting situation a little bit later, possibly in another video, but for now, we've got our 3 fans on the back for cooling. We've got our 2 lights that we transferred over from our old tank. These are the Hypogara Aquanite LEDs. I think they're about I don't know, 20 watts each, not powerful. So the next video you guys see will definitely be a light upgrade because as you guys can see from the side, the lights do not even hit directly over the rocks. So we definitely need to upgrade those lights in the next few days. Now we did add in that extra 15 to 20 pounds of live rock and I definitely needed it. I still need a little bit more because I want to build up the rock about another 5 or 6 inches, but we did use the rock that was given to me from the guy that I bought this tank from. We added in another 15 pounds of sand. I think total in here we've got roughly about 40 to 50 pounds of sand, which gives me about an 1.5 inch sand bed, which is exactly what I wanted. So that's what we've got for rock and sand. Coming down to under the tank, let's go ahead and take these doors off. Coming under the tank here, we've got 3 bulkheads and 3 tubings there. So that first one that you see right there with the ball valve is going to be our main drain that goes into the back of the sump through a filter sock, and then it comes up underneath into the skimmer chamber. I finally turned on the skimmer yesterday and it has been working excellent. Not a lot of waste that's been collected, but it's foaming up nice. This is the SWC 120, and honestly I couldn't be happier with the sound that it makes. It's incredibly quiet and it puts out a thick foam. In the same skimmer chamber we've got the titanium heater. It's 300 watt fluval and that's hooked up to our thermostat in the back, as well as the fans up top for regulating temperature. And then it comes up and overflows into our return pump chamber, which then is sent on that very right one, also with the ball valve. And then this is our backup drain here, which doesn't have a valve on it, but it's there just in case. One thing that I did do, which I probably might change in the future, is I went with ball valves instead of gate valves, which I do need to switch those because of noise. I know with gate valves you can do much more incremental changes than ball valves, but for now the sound's not too loud and these work just fine. Also in the skimmer chamber, as you guys can see that little blue light, that is our auto top off that we brought over from the Innovative Marine 30 gallon. And next to that we have a 10-gallon tank with our fresh RO water topping off the system. We also have our probe in here for our thermostat. And jumping into the electronic side of it, if we jump onto this side of the stand, as you guys can see, there's a ton of wires and a ton of controllers. So in the very back, as you guys can see, that is our thermostat set at 77.5. It's at 77.9, and just like clockwork, the fans kicked on to cool the tank. In the back there where that little blue light is, that is our return pump controller. Right here we've got our 2 transformers for the power heads as well as their controllers here. We have these set at about 70% on a wave pattern, and as you guys can see, there is a slight wave in motion to the water line there, and you guys can see some of the movement in the corals. It's not too aggressive, it's just enough for these LPS and softies in the tank. We'll slowly adjust the power heads as needed. And last but not least, we've got the timer for the lights there. And like I said, we'll be upgrading these bad boys here shortly, but that's what we got for the control panel on this side of the stand. And the last thing to mention is the ice cap sump. It's a 15 or 14.4 gallon sump with a 0.6 or 0.8 gallon reserve for the auto top off in the back, but of course we're using this 10-gallon tank. This thing is awesome. It's really compact. I believe it's just gonna be enough for this tank. It holds just enough water and it fits all the equipment that I need it to fit. So I'm really happy with this. Really well built, all acrylic, really nice looking as well. So that's the last part we've got for equipment. Livestock wise, we transferred everything over from the Innovative Marine. So we've got the clownfish, we've got our bang-eye cardinal, we've got our sand sifting starfish, which you guys can see the top of him right there. And we've got all the coral. Everything lived that was transferred over, but as you guys can see, the euphyllias are not happy at all. It might be the light, it might be the flow, I'm not too sure, but everything else seems to be pretty much opened up and doing well. The toadstool is finally starting to push its polyps out, and as you guys know, all leathers do close up at some point. So this guy was open yesterday, but he's closed up today, and yeah, everything else looks pretty good. The one thing is that the fish do like to kind of hide in the back. I would assume it's just because it's a new tank, it's a new environment, so they're not used to it yet. All in all, I think for this size aquarium, I would say this is a really simple setup. Anyone could do this. I've only been in the hobby for a few years, and I did this in a crazy short amount of time, and I kind of rushed everything, and I probably could have done a couple things better, but everything lived, and that's, you know, the biggest concern. the last part to this puzzle is lighting. So I'm 90% done with this tank. The last 10% is lighting. So I have an idea of what I'm gonna get. I think I'm gonna go pick it up tomorrow. A lot of you guys know that I've really been hinting at the AP9X, but you'll have to wait and see what we end up choosing for this tank. To wrap up the video, for the people that were really curious on how to move everything from one tank to another, I'm gonna explain exactly what I did in each step. So as you guys know, I had this tank already positioned in the room, filled up with water, put the salt in, and I had to get the temperature up to par with what the other tank was at. So I knew the other tank was at 78.5 degrees. That was the temperature I had set. So I had to get this tank set at 78.5. Now, I only have one thermostat, I only have one set of fans. So what I did was I took the set off from the 30-gallon Innovative Marine because I'm pretty comfortable with that tank and I knew what the temperature usually was for that tank, and it was only going to be temporarily for a day, 2 days at most. So I took the thermostat and I took the fans and I put it on this tank, turned up the heater, and I got the tank and the water at 78.5 degrees on the dot. What I also did is I made sure that the salinity was at 1.025, and from there I pretty much just positioned all the equipment and made sure everything was operating correctly. Now back at home, or I guess at the other house, I had the Innovative Marine 30-gallon still rocking, still pumping water through, and everything was doing just fine. I went to Home Depot and I bought 2 bins. One was a 15-gallon bin and the other was a 5-gallon bin. I used the 5-gallon bin for strictly livestock. I put the fish in there, I put the starfish in there, I put all the hermit crabs, and I put all the coral in the 5-gallon bin. Very small, only filled it up with about 6 to 7 inches of water, and that was good enough to keep the fish alive for the next 20 to 30 minutes before I threw them in this tank. Now with the 15-gallon bin, what I did was I took as much water as I could to fit in the bin, as well as all the live rock and all the sand that was in the old tank. Now I know someone commented on a video and said that I shouldn't use the old sand because it has a bunch of fish poop and just waste that's in it, which I completely agree with, but I was scared of losing a lot of the beneficial bacteria that was in the sand, so I had to put some of the sand into this tank. I didn't use all of it. I had about 30 pounds in the Innovative Marine and I used about 15 to 20 pounds of it, and then added the other 15 or so pounds from the store, which is brand new of course, but I haven't seen any issues occurring from using the old sand, so I would say go for it. I needed the beneficial bacteria to carry along with everything else. Now you guys have to remember that from moving from the old house to the new house, it's a 15-minute drive. So if you're moving across state or even a couple hours away, it's going to be completely different on the whole moving process and transferring all your coral. For example, I am moving for school in the next like 8 months, and in that case, if I do bring this tank, I'm going to sell all the livestock. There's no way I'm going to be able to keep everything and drive 6 hours down south and be able to set this tank up. It just wouldn't work. So for me moving 15 minutes away, I was able to put all the livestock into one bin, drive about 15 minutes, acclimate it to the water that was in this tank, and then put everything into the tank. It's as simple as that. The way I saw it was simply putting some of the old water, the old sand, and the old rock into this tank and putting all the livestock in, and it was just like a big water change for these guys. And some of the corals actually responded really well. With the new RO system, it was making a bunch of fresh water, new salt. I had a bunch of new additives and supplements that I put in. So some of the corals responded fairly well to it. So like I said, it was kind of just like a big water change. So yeah, that's pretty much the process that I did to get everything from one tank to another and what we've got rocking behind us for the next few months. Like I said, I am moving for school soon, but I'm not too sure what I'm going to be doing with this setup. In the meantime, we definitely are still buying a little bit more equipment for the tank, and we will be stocking it with more fish and a few more corals. I'm going to do hopefully one more video with the Innovative Marine, so stay tuned for that if you guys are interested in still watching some of the Innovative Marine 30-gallon long content. I got one more video coming for you guys, but that's what we got for the new 65-gallon tank. Hope you guys enjoyed. We got a lot of content coming from this tank here in the future, but honestly, it really is close to my dream tank. Of course, I would want a much bigger tank as my dream tank, but the dimensions and everything of it, it's blowing my mind. So it's not completely done yet. I think one of the biggest things for me too is the new lighting that's coming, so once that's on, it's gonna look perfect, I think. But yeah, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions or comments, please comment down below or DM me at my Instagram. Link is in the description below as well. But with all that being said, I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.